no place like the Q. Family, it's your favorite queer radio personality, Anna DeShawn, and this is Queer News, your favorite weekly news pod where race and sexuality meet politics, culture, and entertainment. You know, I recognized right away when the press releases came out that there was no mention of Taylor's identity. And I said to myself, I know exactly why. And so when the decision was made to finally say that Taylor is a Black trans woman, what did that look like? And why did you all decide at that moment that you had to say exactly who Taylor is?
Well, I think, because it needed to be said, because that's who Taylor is, a Black trans woman, a proud Black trans woman. And I just felt like it didn't need to be said in the beginning because I know how the media, the news, and how people run with the situation. And I didn't want the focus to be on Taylor being a Black trans woman instead of a human being, an American citizen who needed to be found.
And that is Taylor, a proud Black trans woman who is an American citizen who deserves to be found. That was Taylor's mom, who everyone affectionately calls Mama C. We did an interview a month or so ago, and not much has changed. They still haven't heard anything about Taylor's disappearance from the Bahamas police force. I mean, family, it has now been 3 months. 3 months since anyone has seen my Chicago comrade, Taylor Casey, in the Bahamas. And I just want to be here and remind all of us that she is loved and she is missed so badly here in Chicago. And she deserves to be found. So if you are the praying kind of person, okay? If you the good energy sending kind of person, Taylor's family needs all of that. Taylor's friends and supporters need all of that. And those organizing on her behalf need all of that. Also, family, don't forget the Queer News tip line is open. I want to report on the stories happening in your area that don't make the news, don't make a blog, okay? We want to report on it right here on the Queer News podcast. A link is in the show notes. And QCrew, what's going on? Thank you for helping to financially sustain this podcast. Thank you. The QCrew helps with podcast hosting, editing, marketing, PR, travel, Chile. This thing costs a lot to do when you want to do it well. So if you believe in the work we do, if you believe LGBTQ stories need to be amplified, if you love and respect how I report on the news and tell our stories, join the QCrew. You know where it is. You know where the link is. It's in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at E3 Radio and turn on the notifications. I got so many interviews to drop, okay? So you don't miss a thing. Now for the news. We won another Black Podcasting Award. Yes, we did. And I can't wait to tell you all about it. In politics, Kentucky bans conversion therapy, and Biden makes history appointing the 12th LGBTQ plus judge. Then, of course, I've got your election update too, okay? Now, in culture and entertainment, we've got a queer news tip. Yes, we do, on the Lesbians Who Tech Summit. I can't wait to share that story with you all. And then we got a coming out story. We love a good coming out story. And then the Netflix documentary, Will and Harper, drops this week. And I want to make sure all of us go check it out. And if you didn't know, it's Banned Books Week. So let's get into it. Let's go. For our top story today, family, we won another Black Podcasting Award, this time for Best LGBTQ Podcast. We could not do this without you. We were nominated alongside Translash with Amara Jones, which we absolutely adore. If you don't listen to that podcast, go do that for yourself, okay? And then we were also nominated alongside the podcast I produce with my other company, The Cube, Second Sunday. And so I was actually competing against myself. And we came out with the win, family. And I just couldn't do it without you. I also want to give a big shout out to Second Sunday. Second Sunday is the first podcast I ever wanted to produce. It is about Black queer folks finding, keeping, and sometimes losing faith. And we have interviewed some of the most powerful people. And I'm not talking about celebrity power. I'm talking about people power. Yes. And we were nominated for 4 awards and we won 3. The one we didn't win was the one I won. So we kind of still won. Second Sunday won for Best Religion and Spirituality Podcast. It won for Best Culture Podcast, beating Oprah. What you say? Beating Oprah. And it also won Podcast of the Year. I'm just grateful. I'm so grateful. And that's pretty much the only words I have at the moment. Family, in politics, Kentucky becomes the 24th state to ban conversion therapy. Why all 50 states haven't banned conversion therapy, I have no idea, but we are here at state number 24 as Kentucky Governor Sasheer signed the executive order that went into effect immediately. Isn't that the beauty of executive orders? Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. But in this case, it is a good thing. And the governor said Kentucky cannot possibly reach its full potential unless it is free from discrimination by or against any citizen. Unless all our people feel welcome in our spaces, free from unjust barriers, and supported to be themselves. He went on to say, conversion therapy has no basis in medicine or science, and it can cause significant long-term harm to our kids, including increased rates of suicide and depression. This is about protecting our youth from an inhumane practice that hurts them. You know, sometimes I see quotes and it's like, I don't need to add nothing else to that. Like he said it all. Whoever wrote that speech said it all. I think if you're interested in learning more about conversion therapy and what's being done to combat it across the country, I would implore you to check out the National Center for Lesbian Rights. Their website, they have a whole page and campaign dedicated to eradicating conversion therapy across this country. I actually know someone who has participated in that said campaign, okay? And the Trevor Project has run a survey. Yes, they always are running surveys, and they did one in 2023 where they surveyed 28,000 queer American youth, ages 13 to 24, okay? And they asked how many had been part of or threatened with conversion therapy. And 15% of them said that that was the case. And in my world, 15% is 15% too many. Okay. And then they had a shocking stat. It really kind of took me aback a bit that 54% of those same youth attempted suicide the year before they were threatened with or had to endure conversion therapy. Family, there is nothing good about conversion therapy. Chile. Do some people choose to be queer? Sure. Are most people born this way? Absolutely. Can you choose to do something different? Yeah, if you want to. And the desires, the attractions. Child, I promise you, when all these right-wing Republican Christians go meet the maker, okay, they gonna get a rude awakening. That their hatred and bias is rooted in something so evil and something so ignorant. Because to know queerness is to know you couldn't change a thing even if you wanted to. Even if you wanted to. So way to go, Kentucky. Way to go, becoming the 24th state to ban conversion therapy. All right, family, in our next story, it is a political one, indeed. And this one's about President Biden. He has made history again, queer history, by appointing the 12th LGBTQ plus judge to a federal court. Yes, he makes the appointments and the Senate confirms them. Now, this is more than any president in history. And if you listen to this podcast, you know, because I've said it, that the Biden-Harris administration has been the most LGBTQ affirming administration in the history of these here United States. And President Biden just continues to do the same. I've received this notification from Lambda Legal, and Lambda Legal is also pushing for the Biden administration to complete all the nominations that have been made before his term ends. Because Chile, we got hopes for November, huh? We believe that VP Harris will get the win. And if in case she does not, because we are playing with these here electoral colleges, okay? We can have as many LGBTQ judges affirmed and confirmed before the administration ends. And that's so incredibly important. Judges are so incredibly important. They are some of the most important people in which we know none of their names that have so much power. Yes, so many of us, so many of our family members will end up before a judge one day. And when it comes to queerness, Chile, we not, as Black folks like to say, all skin folk and kin folk. That is true when it comes to the queers, but we have a much better chance if it is actually an affirming LGBTQ judge that is sitting on that bench, right? When you or your cousin or your auntie end up in front of a court judge. Yeah, in this case, it was Mary Kay Costello. She was confirmed by the Senate to serve as a district court judge in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. Christine Kiffins, Deputy Legal Director for Policy at Lambda Legal, said this: America's courts are most effective when composed of individuals with varied backgrounds, experiences, and legal expertise, which strengthens the judiciary's ability to deliver fair and balanced justice. Thank you, President Biden, for prioritizing LGBTQ folks when it comes to judges. Thank you for appointing Ketanji Brown to the Supreme Court. I mean, he has kept the promise, huh? And in your election update for the week, we are now officially 42 days away from the election. Yes, and this past week, Oprah hosted a virtual town hall for VP Kamala Harris. Yes, it was called Unite for America. Yo, it was inspired by the Win with Black Woman call that drew over 45,000 people. I joined these calls. I've been on the listserv for over a year. It was incredible. Yes. And for this particular town hall, 400 people were there in person. There were hundreds on screens in Zoom. Yes. VP Harris said, I look around at these screens, Oprah, and I look at who's in the room, and this is America. I love that. Family, over 300,000 people were watching on YouTube. CNN and MSNBC aired portions of the event, but this event took 90 minutes. Okay, 90 minutes. And Oprah said, I don't need CNN or MSNBC. Okay, we gonna do this on YouTube. YouTube. That's what Oprah said. It felt like the Oprah Winfrey Show again, but in a town hall format. And I think it's funny, right? The media has been up in arms around VP Harris not doing a lot of interviews. And you know what she said? She said, I don't need to do a lot of interviews. I need to do Oprah. She said, I've talked to all of you all for decades. I don't need to keep talking to y'all. I need to talk to Oprah. That's where the impact is. I ain't mad. Celebrities in attendance, Tracy Ellis Ross, who had a wonderful speech. I saw the excerpt where she talked about being childless, being 52, and being someone who has still cared for so many. Yes, and the impact that women without children have. Yes, on America. Loved it. Governor Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan, Chris Rock, Julia Roberts, Jennifer Lopez, and Chile, Meryl Streep. Okay, Meryl Streep, yes. I think some highlights from this town hall was when Oprah really demonstrated, she did what Oprah does, right? And talks about how VP Harris, when she took the appointment, it looked like what Oprah called as the veil dropping. Like she stepped into her power, right? And VP Harris says that there's so many of us just waiting for the moment, right? She was VP and she was doing what VPs do, you know, and when the moment came, she was ready. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be. During the event, Amber Nicole Thurman's family, do y'all remember that story? Have y'all heard that story? A young Black girl in Georgia, she took an abortion pill and she ended up dying because the hospital wouldn't treat her in Georgia because of fear of prosecution for treating someone with an abortion. It's a devastating story. And her family was in the audience of this town hall. And her mother said this: I want you all to know Amber was not a statistic. She was loved by a family, a strong family, and we would have done whatever to get my baby, our baby, the help she needed. I mean, it was just a heart-wrenching moment as part of the town hall. And Oprah ended saying this, okay, for all decent people, for all caring people, you need to support VP Harris. It was really a wonderful event. If you haven't seen it, turn it on in the background while you're working today, okay, or sometime this week. Also, VP Harris is killing Donald Trump when it comes to fundraising. They're not even in the same league, not even in the same book. The Harris campaign has raised more than $189 million in August, and the Trump campaign brought in $44 million. 189 to 44, okay? Not even close. Not even close. And she needs every dollar, especially in these swing states, these purple states, where this electoral college is really going to come into play. The ads is busy. I live in Chicago. I don't see them. But in places like Michigan, in places like Wisconsin, in places like Georgia, right? You need that TV time. You need that social time. And you need those ads running. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I think this is a great time to take a quick break. And when we get back, let's jump into culture and entertainment.
Welcome to Joy in the Breakthrough, a podcast where we'll be talking to a wide range of leaders from different generations and backgrounds. Leaders who have found power in being broken open. I'm Connie Lindsay.
And I'm Anna Valencia. We are your hosts, and we believe that our challenges can lead to breakthroughs, and we want to share these insights with you.
We hope these stories will inspire you to find the I'm possible in you.
Listen to Joy in the Breakthrough on Thursdays and follow them on social media at Joy ITB Pod. Listen inside the Cube or wherever you get your podcasts. Family, you know somebody interested in getting into music, taking voice, songwriting, or piano lessons? Well, I got somebody for you. His name is Sel, okay? And I want you to go visit keysforlifellc.com. Book a lesson today for less than $50. If you're hearing this, it means we didn't sell this ad space. If you're hearing this, it means running ads on our podcast actually can work. You see what I did there? You see this real life example? You got an event, do you have an organization, do you got something you need to get the word out about? We got rates starting as low as $100. Check the link in our show notes for more information. Family, welcome back to the show. And now let's jump into some culture and entertainment stories. We're going to kick this part of the podcast off with a queer news tip. Yes, indeed. The tip line has been buzzing the last few weeks. I thank you all. I thank you all for responding to the call. Okay. Because there's so much going on that I just can't get to. I produce this thing. I host this thing. Chile. There are going to be things and stories that get missed. There is no huge team. There's me and Ryan, you know? And so you all being part of that and providing queer news tips just makes this podcast better. So this week, I want to thank Lisa. She sent me a note about Lesbians Who Tech. Are you all familiar with Lesbians Who Tech? If not, let me just tell you a little bit about their mission. Their mission is to reach pay equity and representation at every level for women, women of color, and non-binary leaders. They work to ensure these leaders have the skills and support they need to achieve success. I actually know someone who went to a Lesbians Who Tech event years ago and landed a job that has put them on a career path in tech. Yes, it is a wonderful summit. And Lisa said this: the Lesbians Who Tech Summit in New York City was all about community, badass, queer, and inclusive. The summit covered tech, business, and culture. She said her favorite moment was Billie Jean King serving autographed tennis balls into the crowd with her tennis racket while Elton John's Philadelphia Freedom Song, a song he wrote for Billie Jean King, played. When there were no more tennis balls, she started playing air guitar with the racket. But she also encouraged us with 3 things. 1, relationships. 2, keep learning and learning how to learn. And 3, solve problems and innovate. Lots of great content from famous and not so famous people, but seeing and being part of a community that I didn't know I was a part of was eye-opening. If so many of us were able to attend, there must be a whole lot more in the community that weren't able to make it. Encouraging. I love it, Lisa. I'm so glad you were able to attend Lesbians Who Tech and wanted to bring it back to us right here on the podcast. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I might be interested in that, go Google Lesbians Who Tech. You'll find all of their summits. They do about 3 or 4 a year, and they are absolutely fantastic, always have great speakers. And so I'm glad to hear Lisa had a great time. And who knows, this is one summit that's on my bucket list to speak at, okay? So maybe one day, Anna DeShawn will be on the stage at Lesbians Who Tech. Aye. In our next culture and entertainment story, we just love a good coming out story, don't we? We love when people come out, especially when it's a Black lesbian. Sasheer Zamata came out, and she calls it, she's a late in life lesbian. Yes, you may know Sasheer from her time on Saturday Night Live. And she said she just kept getting cast as a queer woman. She said, I played a lesbian on Home Economics. She said she played a lesbian on Woke. She played a lesbian on Tuca and Berta, a lesbian on The Last OG. She says, I kept getting these roles. And this is before she even figured out she was a lesbian. I was like, woo, what are these casting directors seeing that I'm not seeing? Which I think is hilarious, because anybody out here that's queer and grew up queer, you probably had this feeling at some point where it was like, why didn't somebody tell me? You know, and she was getting that from casting directors. You might also know Sasheer from her podcast, Best Friends. She does it with Nicole Breyer. They are hilarious, right? Because they're both comedians. They're both so quick-witted and they love each other. And so the pod is fantastic. Sasheer says, I'm out in my life and I do keep my personal life kind of private, but I'm also don't necessarily want my identity to be private. I guess I'm one of those late in life lesbians. I just feel very comfortable and confident in my life. She's currently starring in Marvel's long-awaited WandaVision spinoff, Agatha All Along, on Disney+. So go ahead and check out Sasheer doing her thing out here, being a late in life lesbian. And I really love what she says here, that she wants to keep her private life and her personal life private, but that doesn't necessarily mean she wants her identity to be private. And that's a distinction that not many people make. And I think it's really beautiful. My life is mine, but I want y'all to know I'm here. And I am a Black lesbian. Okay? I love that. I don't know about you, family, but I have been waiting on this documentary to drop, and I'm actually putting a reminder in my phone for Friday to go to Netflix and watch this documentary. It is Will and Harper. Yes, I cannot wait to see this film. Friday, September 27th on Netflix, Will and Harper will finally premiere. This is the story of Will Ferrell, yes, and Harper Steele. They have been friends for 30 years, and Harper sends Will a note, an email that says, I am transitioning to a woman. And then Will says, you want to go on a road trip and talk about it? And so that's essentially what they do. They met at Saturday Night Live. Harper was a writer. Of course, Will was Will Ferrell. Yes, and Harper would write for Will, and they have became great friends over the last 30 years. At one point, Harper was actually the lead writer, the head writer on Saturday Night Live from 2004, right, to 2008. And their drive started in New York City at Saturday Night Live and ended up in Will Ferrell's hometown of LA. It is a 16-day trip where they crisscross across America, yes, in all of these various towns, talking about life, Harper's new life, their relationship, what it means to be friends. Will gets to ask all the questions he's been wanting to ask. And Harper says this about why she wanted to do this in such a public way. She says, ultimately, the main reason that got me to do it was, oh, maybe this could be useful for others. I'd like to think that about any kind of work that I'm putting out there, anything I'm making or being a part of, it's like, I hope this is somehow useful to people, that it makes them laugh or they get something out of it. And I'm sure they will. I can't wait to watch it. What you say? Yes, indeed. It's Friday on Netflix, family. Go watch Will and Harper. I think it's going to be a really good one. Family, it's that time of the show for Anna's Got a Word, because Anna's always got a word. And when I was looking at our Queer News master sheet, I saw that this week was Banned Books Week. That's right. It is Banned Books Week. And this was launched in 1982 in response to a sudden surge in the number of challenges to books in libraries, bookstores, and schools. This year, Ava DuVernay is the honorary chair of Banned Books Week, which I think is really phenomenal because Ava's phenomenal. And over the last 2 years, we've reported about it here on the podcast. There have been so many book challenges. Books just ripped out of libraries. What happened in Florida with DEI, yeah, there were just TikToks of boxes, these huge, massive boxes of books that were being thrown out of schools. And I'm always wondering, where do these books go? Where do they go? It's wild to me. We live in a democracy. I really truly feel if you want your child to learn a certain type of way, then you need to homeschool your child so you can teach them what you want them to know. But when it comes to public education, federally funded education, funding that comes from taxpayers' dollars, we ought to be working as if we're truly a democracy. And these banned books have nothing to do with merit at all. It is about identity. It's about not agreeing. Yes, and they formed this word groomers because they wanted to. And it's been awful. It has been absolutely awful. Now, let me run down the top 10 challenge books of 2023. The list for 2024 will come out next year. And then I'll give y'all my word. The top 10 challenge books of 2023 were Genderqueer, All Boys Aren't Blue, This Book is Gay, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, Flamer, The Bluest Eye, Tricks, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, Let's Talk About It, and Sold. Can I tell you, 90% of these are about queer folks? 90% of those books are about queerness? And those were the most challenged in 2023. So my word for today, family, since this is Banned Books Week, is read. Read or listen, okay? Because I'm an Audible girl, okay? It's a privilege. Yes. Read for yourself, listen for yourself. Don't just take content from social media, share it, not do your own research. Don't sell yourself short. The power is in knowledge, is in knowing. Yes, and do it for yourself. That's what I want for you. And as we close up, also Bisexuality Awareness Week. Yes, today is Bisexual Awareness Day. I want to say, what up? I love you. To all my bisexuals out there, we see you. You do exist. Yes, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Till next week, family. Peace. If you've enjoyed what you heard, rate and review us inside your favorite podcasting app. This podcast is written and produced by me, Anna DeShawn. Podcast editing by Ryan Woodhall, and brought to you by E3 Radio and distributed on The Cube. We are Queer News Done Right.